mistakes in marketing that every marketer should avoid. Now what I will be talking to you is based on not necessarily my experience, but experience of our metric as an organization as a whole, where our chairman and managing director Dr. Amita Deshmukh does a lot of work, our Dharmadhikari, who is director of international operations, does a lot of work. I have mostly borrowed from my colleagues' ideas. So mistakes mine, good originality belongs to the team. Now, firstly about definitions. So the marketing has been defined in many ways. Marketing is a set of human activities directed at facilitating and consummating exchanges. This is by Philip Kotler, who is considered the guru of modern marketing management. Wikipedia, which is today's encyclopedia, defines marketing is the process of communicating the value of a product or a service to customers for the purpose of selling the product or service. The next definition is, marketing is the activity, set of institutions and processes for creating, communicating, delivering and exchanging offerings that have value for customers, clients, partners and society at large. This is American Marketing Association. You see, I have put them in increasing order of scope and widening the canvas. By this definition, almost everything gets covered under marketing. I am sorry. But every professional body likes to grab as much field as possible as their own. Interestingly, this is an interesting slide. I have just picked it up from internet. 72 marketing definitions. I have given you the website also. So there is no dearth of different definitions of marketing. And there is no point in we discussing which is the right definition, what is the wrong definition. Broadly, as we understand, it's a practice of delivering value to customers. Customers may be paying hard cash. Sometimes they may be beneficiaries of government schemes. Now, as far as mistakes in marketing, that is what I will be talking about. I will be talking about 8-9 major mistakes that happen generally. But you see, there is only one way of doing things rightly. There are 1,000 ways of doing it wrongly. So there is no real upper limit on number of mistakes one can commit. So I have just picked on a few which I think are more common, more serious and more easily avoidable. Because it may be a very common mistake, but if it is not avoidable easily, then difficult. Most of them are based on our actual professional practice of last 20 years. Occasionally we will come across some example which I think is a hypothetical example to illustrate a point. First and foremost mistake most marketeers do, and more senior they are and larger the organization they work in, it is more common. That is, they go by simplistic self-serving assumptions. It is like a tautological logic. You decide the conclusion, you fit every evidence to support that conclusion. The most famous recent history, you may disagree, I think is the small car. It's okay that somebody stands up on a stage and promises Prime Minister that will make a car in 1 lakh. Then you start working every logic backward. So how do you justify what is the size of the market? You say this actually happened. How many two-wheelers are sold in India? So many lakhs. Let us presume 10% of them want to upgrade to a car but they can't afford to buy a car. So what is the 10% of total motorcycle owners in the country? You get a large number. You say this is my market potential. Yes, I will take some time to achieve it, but eventually that will happen. So you launch a new car, may not be exactly at 1 lakh. You start advertising it as upgrade from motorcycle. Even advertisements show you and your wife sitting on a motorcycle in rain, and then you say, why sit in the rain? Get inside a car. Right from the beginning, somebody should have asked the question, if that motorcycle upgrader wants a car, he will buy the cheapest and the most reliable car because it is simply for upgradation. And in that case, a Maruti second hand is available at half the price, proved, and company is providing it in refurbished conditions with company warranty. Today major Maruti dealers make 30% of their business purely on refurbished cars. And anybody would have said in that case, that fellow who wants to upgrade will initially buy a second-hand Maruti, for which even loans are available. So if it is a new car which is being sold for prestige of buying a new car, then your market segment has to be entirely different. Initially you may get some market because there is novelty, it will wear off, which you see happening. All we are saying is, you start at the given conclusion that I am going to sell 1 lakh number of small cars because that is my break-even level. Then I work everything backward to justify it, and I can afford to do it if I am big enough. So I said this mistake happens often. The bigger you are and the more senior you are. The second mistake. We often like to imagine about the customers. We don't like to take the trouble of going and finding out who the customer is, what he doesn't really want. Armchair speculation is very entertaining. And therefore we come to conclusions as to what does a customer want. The reality may be far, far away from it. Now this is where I think one first story I am going to tell you is hypothetical. It didn't really happen. Somebody coined it to just explain the concept, but it is a good story. The second story I will tell you is really what we have experienced in our practice. First story is about bill cream. You know bill cream? Yeah. White cream which you use on hair. Well, once upon a time it used to be produced in UK and they shipped a shipload of it or small consignment to Kenya, and it sold off very fast. So they sent a bigger consignment, sold off faster. Time came when they started sending shiploads of bill cream to Kenya. Then the marketeer sitting in London said, obvious, Kenya is a good market for bill cream. Why? It must be good for curly negroid hair. It must be good for tropical sun. X, Y, Z. So they decided to start manufacturing in Kenya and they wanted to pump up the market. So with the next lot of bill cream in the shipload, they also send a lot of banners. Bill cream is good for curly hair, it makes black hair blacker, it keeps your hair cool during tropical sun, X, Y, Z. Lot of imagination. After a week they received a message from the local representative that sorry, we are sending everything back, nothing is selling. Then the fellow sitting in London felt curious as to why Kenyans are buying bill cream. Then they thought we must send some market research agency, if not we go ourselves, and find out. So these market researchers went asking around in Kenyan streets, did you buy bill cream? He will say, no, never. Eventually, with some effort, they discovered a simple truth. People were using it as a cream, as a bread spread. When they discovered that it is not the one, I have not tested it. Perhaps it is aromatic. Perhaps if you add salt, sugar according to your taste, it will settle well. Perhaps it will not affect your health badly. But the point remains. Imagining about customers can be. I hope it is hypothetical because I don't like. Okay, it's undertones of white supremacy about Kenyan blacks. Okay, this is standardly published in marketing textbooks. Okay, but nobody claims its authenticity. But it illustrates the point that imagining about the customers sitting in your London office can be dangerous. The next one is of course very real life. There is this Maharaja line, you might have heard, white line. They make mixers, they make washing machines, this, that. Now they appointed us to find out how to sell washing machines better. And in Delhi there was a good housekeeping exhibition, every year it is there, in which a lot of white goods and consumer durables are organized. So we said, good time to find out what customers want. What do they want in washing machine? So I can imagine, you can imagine, it must wash cleanly, it must not spoil clothes, it must not use too much soap, it must not run the colors out, it must not break down, X, Y, Z, its power consumption must be low, this, that, that. We were standing at our Maharaja counter. Two about 55-60-year-old men came with closed, well-dressed, closed necks. They asked the salesman, "Do you have ऊपर से खुलने वाला?" तो बोला नहीं, ये सामने से खुलता है. It is front loading, and the front loading is more advanced technology. You can use the top for keeping this, that. Okay, the top loading is gone case. They said maybe. Went around. They completed an entire round and came right at the stall in front of us, which was, I still remember the name, Jyoti. Not very famous. There the salesman showed them a top loading machine. They took out a check, gave it to him. Now, curiosity. So we went and caught hold of him, both of them, and said, "It's okay that you didn't buy Maharaja, but what is your love for top loading washing machine? Why were you so keen?" Can you imagine the answer? Their answer, pardon? They said, "उसमें लस्सी बनेगा, इसमें नहीं बनेगा." And then we discovered across from Delhi to Haryana, entire that area, a lot of lassi making machines are really washing machines, and they make machine ki thandi lassi very nice, very clean, very neat. Imagine what customer does. It is extremely dangerous. We must go out and really investigate, and this is very critical in a country like India, where the whole society is divided among caste, class, urban, rural, languages, and therefore the way the products are used, the purpose for which products are used are quite different. Godrej hair dye sells high in Gujarat. You know why? It is used for painting buffaloes before they are sold in second. Shiny buffalo hair gets higher price. No, nothing wrong with it. Why shouldn't they use it? Why shouldn't the buffalo's hair be painted? But this you and me will not imagine sitting here. So we have to go and find out who buys and what. Okay. So don't only imagine about the customers. Pardon? Oh, kasla khapto. Then you have a lot of sale. You see, every time, it is not every day. When he wants to take it to sell for market, then she should have a shining armor, no? But then, as you are right, a lot of pain gets hair dye, sorry. Then there is a mistake of celebrating instead of calibrating, as we will call it. Typically what happens? A customer sends you nice complimentary note. That good, I really enjoyed food in your restaurant, or XYZ. You celebrate, correct? The point is, a rare happy customer writes to you. Many unhappy customers just stop buying from you. They don't come and tell you. They say, "Who wants the headache? The food not good? Let me not go to the restaurant. There are 100 others." And therefore, you have to calibrate customer satisfaction. You have to measure it, monitor it, and what you don't measure, what you don't monitor, you cannot manage. So instead of going by selective feedback from retailers, dealers, customers, which is nice to hear and which comes on its own. We were doing a survey for a major fertilizer company, and our survey showed that 10% farmers had a lot of problem with packaging of those fertilizers. In the boardroom, everybody said, "It can't happen, we have never heard of a complaint." Finally, they had a sensible chairman who said, "What is our methodology for capturing that complaint?" He complains to the local dealer. If he forwards it upward, the area manager will chop it. So, idea is, carefully monitor, measure, don't go by what walks in, and don't celebrate good news too early. Then a lot of marketers and industrialists are inward oriented. This happens particularly for these engineer entrepreneurs. I'm an engineer. I'm also an entrepreneur. And it also happens to me, but engineer entrepreneurs particularly. Why? They start their activity with some innovative technology, adopting it, making a small improvement, making a better product. Then they are committed to their technology and their product. They forget that the world outside changes very fast. And often you are being left behind. The entire paradigm shifts, not minor changes. But our technocrat entrepreneurs fail to appreciate because they are immersed in their technology. And they are gloating in their own idea of how I made an import substitution. Typically, for instance, in recent times, there is a large spurt in organic agriculture with a substantial international market for organic products. The organic vegetables will bring you 3 times more price. Even today, every major fertilizer company is in war with organic agriculture. Literally in war with. They don't realize that their technologies and products are getting outdated. People have become far more sensitive to ecological balances. No. Even today you will find hardly any branded organic product available for farmers for use. Typically, we talk of power shortage. It is very much there. We mapped around Pune for some reason and found that roughly 35% to 40% days power is off throughout the day. So people are developing a lot of solar systems. Globally, there are pumps which will run on solar systems. Today, our no leading pump manufacturer wants to develop a solar pump. See, Tatas may do it, but they were never in pump manufacturer itself. So it is somebody from outside has to come and start manufacturing, while all the major pump manufacturers still want to burn electricity or oil. So typically this has happened. You may remember there used to be slide rules, there used to be facet machines. None of these companies graduated to computing machines. They were left aside. The whole paradigm of computing changed. You may not remember the name that there was a facet, that there was that Aristo slide rule. Yes. Okay. At my age I know, youngsters don't know. Correct? That Mihir and Devayani will not know what we are talking about. Once, almost 100% monopoly products in computing. So, don't be inward looking alone. Lot of changes happen outside and you have to be sensitive. In our country, my generation has grown in times of rationing. Almost every product, if we gave it to a customer, we are doing favor to a customer. There used to be touts outside two-wheeler showrooms. You don't want the scooter because there is a scratch. You don't want it because it is not the color you want. Please sign rejection slip. I'll sell it outside and get a premium of 5,000 rupees. That was the days. Habits don't change quickly. Manage all your products and services in the same way. Increasingly, companies have diversified products. They have to have. They sell them in diversified markets. Each market has its own requirement. If you export cars to Africa, there is a different requirement, different culture. If you export them to China, there is a different culture. If you export them to Europe, there is a different culture. If you are making cars and if you are making television sets, the cultures are quite different. Even today people say, Tata Motors are our major client, but people still say they have not come out of their truck mentality. They want to sell cars as if they are selling trucks. They want to make cars as if they are making trucks. True or false? They are changing fast. But it is also true that initial cars were downright upgradation of trucks. Now This is happening with the largest producer. At that time, Firodias were our clients. And Arun Firodia launched that Merlin TV.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Digital TV, first time. And they persuaded Biyu Bhandari to open the first showroom in Pune. Somehow he asked us to find out what is wrong, why it is not selling. So we went around asking customers. We don't like to sit in a chair and imagine. And we said, there are minor problems, sir. The knob breaks down, the switch fails, but the TV stops working. And the customer says, very good technology, but when I want to see the program, it is not on. He said, what to do? I said, look, TVs are not produced in hundreds. You have to plan for producing lakhs. He was convinced. I am telling you by name because you will find out the idea. So he said, it is very important, but I can't convince my father. Let us go jointly. So we went to HK. Now please realize HK has been a pioneer in automobile technology in the country. He launched some of the best known products like Bajaj two-wheeler, Bajaj scooter, Kinetic Honda scooter, XYZ. But by that time he had become 80. He said, look, when I in Mumbai, me and his elder brother started producing rickshaws, we produced 3 rickshaws first, sold them, made some money, made next 100 rickshaws, made some money, made next 1000 rickshaws, and look where Bajaj Auto is today. I said, sir, right. But today the situation has changed. Today you are fighting with Sony. Today you are fighting with large number of international brands being produced in a different class of technology. You may have a good product. He said, we have a system of doing business. 10, 100, 1000, then perhaps 10,000. That will not change. You know what happened to Merlin TV. It didn't survive for a year. Not that it was a very bad product. And saying it was much before our time is not fair. What is so much before our time in digital technology in 1990? We are not talking of launching it in 1950s. The next most important mistake that marketeers do is they stop learning. You know, marketing is a high-flying job. You get a lot of prestige. You get a lot of press coverage. Since you are releasing a lot of advertisements, newspapers are happy to cover even your dog's birthday. Okay, because I have a huge advertising budget on which I sit. So I can manipulate press as I like. I attend a lot of parties. That is part of my job. And I start thinking myself big, big, big. Therefore what happens? I start looking down on any professional. Once I was a professional perhaps. But now I say book knowledge is useless. I have seen this. All these IIM and chaps, I belong to that fraternity, but got their initial careers simply because they were good bookworms. Let us face the fact. They passed competitive exams, you know, once in their lifetime. By doing what? Not by playing games. By being bookworms. How to solve puzzles of standardized fashion. But when they reach 50, they start saying, all this knowledge is useful because they don't want to learn any longer. They start saying that experience is everything. They like to delegate learning to their sons, so they will send their sons to Harvard. No, seriously, you can look at the list. Okay. When the son comes back, he may fight with you, but still you will not learn. They start overplaying the importance of experience. Standard. You know, when we invite business executives to deliver management lectures in management colleges, I happen to be chairman of one of them, but I have been associated with management education for 30 years. The experience is the following. First lecture, excellent, because he comes prepared, but that is his stamina. The next lecture, he tells stories of his own experience, which is quite entertaining, because he has a rich experience. By fourth lecture, it is rather miserable experience. And therefore, we decided that visiting professors are welcome for 2 lectures. Never train your team members. That is the other major mistake. Marketeer, that leader, maybe vice president, maybe president, he is the hero marketeer. What does he expect? Others should follow. Others should imitate. Thou shalt not learn. And then that becomes a culture of marketing organization. That the whole team stops learning. They develop an aversion to learning. They think being street smart, being well dressed, well groomed is the end of the day. There was one Mr. Bhatia who was sales director of BPL in BPL heydays. Before the father and the son-in-law fought and the BPL went down. He was the old school. He once said in frustration, Dr. Karandikar, what to say? I issued a circular to all my sales team, he had about 400 of them, that you can have one additional credit card for which company will stand guarantee, and you can subscribe to one professional journal. Please send me your request. All people sent for credit card, only one person out of 400 sent a request for journal readership. So he thought these fellows don't know the names of the journals. So he sent in the names of the journals also. 2 more applied. No. I think only we can compete with medical doctors in this regard. You know, they depend on medical representatives as sole source of education, most of them. Don't imagine about customers. Don't celebrate. This is now, let us convert what to do, what to avoid, correct? So don't celebrate instead of calibrating. Don't be inward oriented and miss even major shifts in the market. Don't be myopic in time and space. Don't be adamant. Do manage all your products and services in different ways as are suitable for the product, service and the market. Do continue learning and keep on training your team. Frankly, this is, once I looked at it, I realized this is nothing particular about marketing in that way. This is perhaps true for all managers. And why managers? All human beings. So in a way, the defects the marketeers suffer from are defects inherent to human beings that we have to overcome. And nonetheless, I thought I will put them down. Thank you very much.